Japneet Singh is running for New York City Council representing the 28th District of Queens, South Ozone Park, South Richmond Hill, South Jamaica, and Rochdale Village. Japneet is a product of this very community for the past 19 years. He's a product of our local public schools, from attending elementary school PS 100 to middle school MS 226 to high school John Adams. This district has molded him into what he is today. He was also the student body president at Queens College for 2 years, where he governed 20,000 students. He was also the vice president of the entire CUNY. The list goes on and on and on. But through it all, since he was 19 years old, he's been a social activist for practically any marginalized community, doing his part to ensure that every voice is heard. Because for him, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you this young man, Mr. Japneet Singh. Japneet, welcome to ITV Gold.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. You know, I know you've been running around, first of all, knocking on doors, doing interviews everywhere, fundraising, handing out food. And, we see the work that you've been doing through social media, through newspapers, through interviews like this on ITV Gold. But Japneet, I've got to ask you. Why do you want to be city councilman?
First and foremost, thank you for having myself on here.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the audience watching. I hope you have gotten a chance to hear about our campaign that we're launching here in District 28 of Queens. And it's a simple answer to that would be, it's time. It's our time to get some kind of voice, some kind of representation for our people. For far too long, we built Richmond Hill, we built South Ozone Park, we built South Jamaica, but we do not have anybody that looks like us that's on the table. And for so many times, we don't even get funding in our areas. We have mandars, mosques, gurdwaras, churches in our communities that basically built that community into what it is. But when we ask them for funding, when we ask them for resources, the government gives us a blind eye.
Japneet, you're very young.
Yes.
You just turned 27 a few days ago, actually. Being so young, how did you feel when you were, recommended for this position?
See, the thing is, I think that oftentimes we think about a certain age or a certain age bracket before you enter the realm of politics or public service. I think one thing that we learned over the past couple of years is that it's never too early or never too late, and that's the type of energy that we brought to this campaign. We have a youth-led movement here, but at the same time we are being supported by our elders, and this campaign has both our elders as well as our youth, but our one sole focus is to represent our community. And that's why, when I was going into it, I always wanted to run for office. It's just that this opportunity really kind of came before anybody expected it. And I think that's why a lot of people were caught off guard as to who's this kid? But at the same time, I always knew since I was a student body president at Queens College, this is something I would want to do. But after seeing the current representation over the last 4 years, I'm like, this is the time, because for so long our community was promised the moon, but we haven't even gotten the stars. So that's what motivated me.
So you are focused to getting the stars and the moon, I would
100%,
say.
100%.
You were the president of your student body,
Right.
20,000 students under you. What have you learned from that particular position that you can bring to the table once elected, working with so many people?
Right. Shout out to Queens College. Actually, today is actually their commencement.
Awesome.
So I love my everything that Queens College stands for. Their motto is "You learn so you may serve." Right. That's their motto that they instill the first day you enter campus. And I was very fortunate and grateful for the experience I had there. As a 21-year-old, I was leading 20,000 students, making decisions for them, approving the budget, getting more inclusive food options, fighting for tuition freeze for the entire student body. And one thing I really learned at age 21, from age 21 to 23, is I had an operating budget. I was using taxpayer money to make decisions on behalf of the student body. Our operating budget was about $300,000 on Queens College level, and then about $1 million on a community-wide level. So we were using that money too for the betterment of the students, doing events, organizing things for finals week, things of that nature. So when I, at age between 21 and 23, you're making those decisions for 20,000 students, you learn a lot. I was learning more about, life skills doing extracurriculars as student government than I would even learn in the classroom. One semester I had 9 classes, which is about 27 credits, but I enjoyed it because I woke up every day. I knew I'm going to campus not only to learn for myself, but also represent my student body.
Awesome. Let me ask you, what is the budget in District 28?
Well, it varies based on district, but every district has about $5 million to allocate within the community. And then, obviously the expense budgets, discretionary funding, it can vary depending on what's approved on a citywide level. And each year that can change, yeah.
Now, District 28 has 4 towns.
Yes.
South Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, South Jamaica, and Rochdale Village.
Right.
How will you, Japneet, be inclusive of all communities?
So one thing that I proudly always tell anybody I meet, I'm a product of this community. I was raised here from the age of 8, and I just turned 27 not too long ago. And I grew up with everybody. Being a product of a public school education, you grow up with blacks, African, Guyanese, South Asians, Hispanics. So you have the luxury of meeting so many people and going to a campus like Queens College where you come across 115 different cultures, which is what, how many types of groups and ethnicities attend Queens College. You are always molding yourself based on the people around you. Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing about this campaign as well. We have every race, every ethnicity represented, and that's the type of energy we want to bring into City Council once we get elected. We want to have an office right in the middle, a center point of the district. Right now, what happens is since this district was made, the office is always so far out on one side of the district that 2/3 of the district always feels left out. They don't know where the office is. It may not be accessible. So they don't, oftentimes the people, the blue collar workers in our communities, they don't have time to go to and be part of this kind of system, right, or process. And if we make it harder or less visible for them to even, see what the office is, we're making it tough for them to even learn about the process. So, I think in my mind, the center point would be around Liberty and the service road of the Van Vick, around that area. And that also is not too far with South Jamaica. It's right in Richmond Hill. It's not too far with South Ozone Park. And that's something in such a visible and busy intersection. Everybody would know where their representative is. If they need any help in the community, they can come there at any time, and we'll be there to hear them out and provide some kind of help.
Queens is truly the melting pot. Yep. Of New York City, I would even say of the whole entire United States of America.
100%.
Every ethnicity can be found right here in the beautiful Queens. Now, one of those ethnic groups are Guyanese.
Yep.
I myself is Guyanese.
100%.
Now, Guyanese are the 5th largest growing immigrant community in New York City. Mm-hmm. However, there hasn't been any representation
100%.
For the Guyanese community. There have been, other people who've campaigned like Richard David, Dr. Taj, Mike Duval, just to name a few. Mm-hmm. What will you bring to the table that is different than them, which would allow people to actually go out and vote? Because I think at this point, if we're the 5th largest, growing community with voting power,
right,
they're not going out to vote.
Right.
So Japneet, what will you say to the audience which will allow them to go out and vote?
First of all, I want to acknowledge I consider them role models, for people like myself, because they established the foundation for people like me to even consider running, right? Mm-hmm. We got to acknowledge them and give them a huge shout out for that. And to answer your question, I think our communities are so mobilized now, and they're so tired of the status quo. Just talking to people, I'm going door to door myself. I'm knocking on at least 500 doors each and every day. And the response we're hearing, how tired people are of the current system, I see a sparkle in their eye that makes me believe that they want different. And what better way to proclaim that than elect one of your own, a person from your community, a person that knows the struggle, a person that's seen the struggles of our elders, but also the pain of our future. We can't say empower the youth if we're not even giving the youth an opportunity to get empowered. So I think seeing both sides of the story and merging it in a center point is very big. And this is the first time my mind is happening. And that's why I think in such a short amount of time, we were able to get so much support from so many different communities.
Now, when people go out to vote for you,
All right.
what benefit will they feel they are getting by voting for you?
I think a person that's going to stand up for them, a person that's going to, if there's something that is wrong and unjust, I will be that voice. And I've proven that. And even though, we want to always play the age card, but in just these past couple of years, without having any kind of government support or government assistance, we were able to do numerous rallies for people that were marginalized, stand up for people who've been marginalized. And I think all marginalized communities, if we come together, there's no one that can stop us. And that's what we're trying to preach through this campaign. And hopefully once we get elected, that once our struggles and our people come together, we can address them. But we need to come together for that to happen, because District 28 is one of the most divided districts in my mind, because the Van Wyck Expressway, it's an imaginary divider. Even though, I think people on the other side of Van Wyck think that there's not, the problems on our side of the Van Wyck aren't the same, but we all are people. We all want to have a dignified life that includes peace and prosperity for all. And right now, we need to make sure that every community that lives in our district understands that. We come to one table and we work together to find the solutions that our community needs.
Awesome. Jap, what are the top 3 things that you will improve for District 28?
I think throughout this conversation, we were talking about public schools. Our public school system has been failing our kids. And it's no different here in District 28. It's all across the city, but in District 28, I graduated high school in 2012. I graduated middle school in 2008. They started construction when I graduated. It's been almost 10, 11 years, and they still haven't fixed that construction, or haven't fixed whatever they're trying to fix. And that goes to show, and if you come to places like Astoria or Long Island City or Hell's Kitchen or even Williamsburg, you'll see billions and millions of dollars being pumped into those communities. Why? Don't we deserve that? I remember having a conversation with my local library right on Rockaway Boulevard. They had a roof leak for 2 years in a row, and they had a bucket, and I saw a big check outside from an assembly person. They said $50,000 rewarded to this library. I go inside, I'm like, I see you guys got money and you still letting it. We didn't even get the money. And I'm like, what? And then she showed me, I will never forget this. So on is a public record of where the money goes online. She went to the library website, and she showed me a $1 billion project right here in Long Island City. And we're like, she's like, we need $50,000 to fix this roof leak. They have billions of dollars to pump into Long Island City, but they don't have $50,000 to spare for a roof leak, for marginalized communities, for Black and brown communities that go to those libraries in our communities, because that's a community center. The fact that a library is a community center, we do not have any community centers in our district. So I think it's come to a point where we need to stand up and be like, no, this is enough. We will not accept this anymore. We will not accept mediocre government to represent us anymore. And we need to make sure that our communities come together for better results and better representation for our community.
Wonderful. Jap, when we think of improvements such as, cleaner streets, better roads, we may think of rebeautification projects as well as, thinking about more high-end stores, maybe a Starbucks on the road of Liberty or Atlantic. I mean, do you think that's something that we should look at, or do you think the mom and pop stores are better to be there? Because we see more mom and pop stores in these communities.
I personally am a fan of mom and pop shops, just because my parents are immigrants. I'm an immigrant, and mom and pop shops are what allowed our communities to make a living in this community. Starbucks is cool. Dunkin' Donuts is also cool, but I think we need to really take a close look before we let those kind of franchises come into our communities, because that's when gentrification occurs, and our communities that built that community move. They'll get pushed out. So I'm a pro-community person. I love my Indo-Caribbeans, I love my South Asian, I love my African Americans that make up our community. And we would have to take a decision as a community. I would never allow anybody to come to our community that we made and let them take it over. That's not their right, that's our right. And we decide who comes in and who goes out. So I think we need to make sure that when that time does come, it will come, because it's already started in Jamaica, we will take a closer look at it together, and whatever the community decides, that's where we'll go.
Thank you. Japneet, when people think about you,
Right.
and they want to tell their friends about you, how would you like someone to describe Japneet Singh to someone else when they're talking about you?
Just passionate for the community. I think you've seen some of the work that we do on a daily basis, and how tough and taxing it is on the body. The public service is not easy, especially when you're trying to win a elected official spot. But at the same time, the only thing that can drive you, and the only thing I think, if you didn't have passion, you would not be able to knock on as many doors as we knock, phone bank as much as we're doing, and most importantly, just engaging with the actual community. There's so many times I've met a community member that said that you're the first candidate to ever come to us, ever. And I'm like, that's crazy. The elected official's office is right down there. And the fact that they've never even made an effort, like I will never remember this in Rochdale Village. Just 2 days ago, I met a couple young men, and they're organizing a football league for the kids, because they're trying to get the kids engaged and get off the streets and just have a safe space to occupy their time with. And they were supposed to receive a certificate from the current council person, and the office is literally 100 feet from where they live, and the council person never made an effort to even meet this person. And mind you, they're really mobilizing the youth there, really giving them something to do, giving them a safe space. And the fact that I remember I gave him a palm card, and one of his friends walked by. He's like, "Oh, this is the guy I was talking to you about." And he's like, "Wait, this is him? Like he's here right now?" Like they've never seen someone come to their door. Because the thing is that with the way this current system is made up, they just, they just think they're gonna win. Like they just think it's gonna get handed to them. But that's where we come in and be like, no, you've done nothing to deserve it. And I'm talking about all communities. So it's very, very. I think when you're just visible and you just provide a shoulder, sometimes that could be the biggest help you can provide to anybody. And I think that's where we need to, as humans, we need to be there for one another. I think we live in a very scary time right now, where people just don't know who to trust, who they can rely on. And I think as an elected official, as a public servant, that's your job as well, on top of all the other responsibilities you're tasked to do. But I think the biggest thing you can do is be a human, and that's what we're trying to do.
Jep, I've been following your campaign for about 2-3 weeks now,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing you everywhere.
Right.
I think at this point, if there was a way to clone you, we would probably need about 20 Japneet Singhs.
Right.
But my question to you is, you're everywhere right now, but once elected, are you still going to be there with these communities, with the football games, the soccer games, the baseball games, checking on them, saying hello?
I'm gonna be there more. Again, like I really, and that's something even in student government, one thing I took away from it, my goal going in was to just make it so widely spread, so for that commuter student that never knew that they had a representation body, they know now. In finals, we're giving out food to those that may need it. Some people in CUNY, they aren't fortunate. They do need extra help, when it comes to food or just resources. And I'm gonna take that same mentality and apply it to my direct community, because I think when you're visible, you just provide that ear and shoulder, you can make so much more of a difference. And sometimes people, like I said, just want to let you know their problems, whether you have the solution or not. They just want to let you know, this is what's going on in my life. Can you help me? Can you do something? Can you just hear me out? And the way it is set up right now, it's I'm a politician. I'm better than you. That's the vibe everybody gets, and that's something that I'm not trying to do at all. I think I'm a public servant, and I'm here to serve the people. So I'm not a celebrity. I'm nobody. I wouldn't even be in this position without the people. And that's the same thing that I hope if elected, I can show to the people that elected me.
These people don't vote because they feel their voices don't count. What would you say to these people to make them believe that their voices do count?
I'll put in simple terms. It's if your voices didn't count, they wouldn't come to your mandirs or your mosques or your gurdwaras or whatever house of worship that you go to, or they wouldn't put on a big show doing the co-naming of Little Guyana. That's a clear indication your voice matters, and it matters now more than ever. This is the most important election in my mind of our lifetime. We're gonna have a brand new mayor, a brand new controller, 37 new council members, and then obviously this seat which we can beat an incumbent and make history by being the first brown elected official in city government. That's never been done before. And I think we need to really understand if everybody from South Ozone Park and South Richmond Hill comes out and votes, we win this election straight up. There's no denying that. Politics is a numbers game. It's whoever has the most votes at the end of the night is going to win. And we do have the numbers. It's just going to take all of us believing. Just give our own one chance and see what we've given so many other people chances. Why not our own person? And you know, I think once we get elected and once our work speaks for itself, then every community will start believing in what we are capable of, and then it opens the door for other people. I think that's the biggest thing for my campaign. I hope even if I inspire one or two youth members of the Indo-Caribbean community or the South Asian community or any other marginalized community, I've done my job. And my thing is not to make only one Japneet Singh, it's to make numerous other public servants that want to serve the community and that want to do right by their community.
Thank you so much. Jap, it's definitely been a pleasure having you here on ITV Gold. And to all of our ITV Gold viewers, one more time, I want you to look into the camera and tell them why should they vote for Japneet Singh for District 28.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi, for this great opportunity, for letting me talk to the people that watch your show and really support you over the years. You've been a blessing in disguise, and you mean so much to the campaign. And this is what is possible. When East meets West, we can make some great things happen, and that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for communities and empowering communities that have never been empowered before. We can do something very historic right here at home, which we call Little Guyana now, which we call Little Punjab, which we call Little West India. I think that's something I want to do too. Names somewhere down in our community, West Indian way. I think is very important to acknowledge everybody that lives in our communities. But we have something very special right here at home. And we have a moment, this is a moment in time that we're going to think back at from 10, 20 years from now and be like, this was that moment. Because there's a lot of changes coming into city government in the next 2 years. So, the redistricting is going to happen. So many things are going to happen. So we want to make sure we secure our future, our community's future, by electing someone that looks like us, that feels our pain, that's been here for over 20 years now, and that wants to do right by the community, by all the communities that live here. And that's what I'm fighting for, and I hope to have your support come June 22nd for the primary day. Early voting is from June 12th to 20th, and you can even start voting right now if you get your absentee ballots. Check off that Sing box, and beyond that as well, if you live in the Richmond Hill community, if you live in New York City and want to help our campaign, you can reach out to me at 347-971-6809. And all the social media handles are at Japneet Singh for NY. You can just follow us there and keep just tag along the journey. And again, if you are available, we only have 2.5 weeks to get this done. And it's going to take people like Lakshmi, it's going to take people like Roshan, it's going to take people like Imran, it's going to take people like Shivani, it's going to take people like Simmer, which are all people that they don't have to be here and doing what they're doing, but they want to because they know it's about the future. So if you care about the future, if you care about our community's future, please hit us up and let's make history together.